So excited to be joined by these two guys, Giovanni, Manu, and Theo Benedet, two members of the UBC football program that are going to the NFL, and guys that I heard about back when they were in high school. And Theo, you were playing at Handsworth. You were a skinny tight end then, and Gio playing at Pitt Meadows. And unbelievable, Gio, we'll start with you because Pitt Meadows, I don't even know if they had a football program for 5 years. And you were like the biggest thing since sliced bread to come out of there. You're playing basketball. Could you have imagined playing in this small fledgling program, and 5 years later, Dan Campbell is on the phone with you saying, "We've just traded up to make you a member of the Detroit Lions"?
No, honestly, yeah. I come from a small town and a small school, small football program too. I don't even think we have a football program anymore. I think I'm the last of a dying breed. So
Yeah.
it's been a great journey. It's been a long journey, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work, and yeah, it's great to where I am right now, and I credit it all to my time in high school and my time at UBC. It's been great, and and it's got me to where I am. So yeah.
And you guys know me. I'm a BC high school football guy, so to have you guys in this position is exciting for me. And I coached against you, Theo, when you were at Handsworth. I know you don't want to remember those scores. Sorry to have to do that to you, my friend. But again, right? I mean, you were a really good athlete when you played high school football, and you kind of go through the traditional path that most top players in this country go through, playing at the U Sports level. How are you able to reach the heights you have? Because you're arguably the most decorated collegiate lineman in U Sports history, a two-time JP Metros Award winner.
Yeah, I mean it's like you said, just really fortunate to have a developmental support. I think at UBC and at Handsworth that I think is probably underrated in Canada. I think people sometimes think that Canada can't produce the level of talent that is required to play in the NFL, and then I think today refutes that and it's just having somebody who had the patience with me, as a freshman getting to college at 230 pounds to, stick with me, develop me, and ultimately bring out the best in me.
And I do want to get into both of your journeys a bit more, but let's go back to today. And Gio, we'll start with you and the conversation you had with Dan Campbell. And take me through the process, because for both of you guys, there were 16 NFL scouts at your pro day, or 16 teams represented from the NFL, plus a bunch of the CFL teams. And I know that they a bunch of them wanted to take you to different spots after that pro day at BC Place was over and get to know you a little bit better. And then I know in your case, Gio, you had, I think, 13 top 30 visits. So you knew there was a lot of buzz. Your agent Zeke Sandu did a really good job, along with the UBC staff, to making sure your name got out there. What was that process like to go through, and how confident were you heading into today?
Yeah, it was a really long process, really long days and, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of flying around and being squished in a little plane. And yeah, it was really, stressful and tiring, but I felt confident going into every single one of these interviews. One thing I will always remember is Coach Neil would always text me before these meetings, or he would text me before I left Vancouver. He would tell me, go into these meetings as confident as you can be, and just look every single one of those coaches in the eyes and be straight up with them. And he always told me, don't try and be anyone else, always be yourself. So that's just the way I approached all these meetings. And I did as best as I could. I did everything I could possibly do. And then coming down to draft day today, I just left it all out there, and whatever happens happens. And yeah.
Please tell me they at least flew you business class, being that you're like 6'7.5", 350 pounds, and they didn't stick you in the middle seat back in coach.
Yeah. I was really fortunate enough to go in business class. But yeah.
And for you, Theo, there was a decision to be made because you had such a good year last year. You got to go to one of the big college all-star games, and there was a lot of interest in you. So you took a bit of a leap of faith to come back. Take me through that decision and whether or not it was the right one in the end.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it was really a team first decision. I felt like UBC had a good chance to win a Vanier Cup, a national championship, and I felt that this NFL opportunity would still be here this year. So that's really what went into it. And it's easy to look back in hindsight. Should I have done this? Should I have done that? But at the end of the day, I really felt like I've done everything I can at this point to put myself in the best position for the NFL, and now ready to hit the ground running with Chicago.
Yeah, no regrets. I'm sure you're going to be that much better. You both had a chance to be coached by by Dan Durazio. But Theo, as far as Detroit is concerned, tell me what their expectations are. I mean, you've been a left tackle your entire career. Take us through what the positional plan is for you.
Yeah, for me, they've asked me where do I feel comfortable playing, and I told them left side. That's legit where I've always been playing my whole collegiate career, and I've told them, but they've opened up to me and told me if I'm willing to play on the right side because I feel like they want me playing next to Penei Sewell is what they kind of hint at, and I told them I'll be open to it, and they told me they basically it sounded like that's where they're gonna put me at coming into rookie minicamp. I think they're just going to rep me at the right side so I can get comfortable at it. So it's going to be a challenge for sure, but it's something that I'm looking forward to do. So yeah.
Theo, so Gio gets drafted. He knows where he's going to go. For you, it's a different process. And some people would say rather than being drafted in the 7th round, you're better off being an undrafted priority free agent. I mean, we look at a Canadian like Alaric Jackson, who doesn't get drafted and winds up starting before the end of his first year. So you had a bunch of teams interested, somewhere between 7 and 10 teams were really interested in signing you. I know within 5 minutes of the draft ending, you had a deal done with Chicago. So why Chicago? Why the fit there?
Yeah, like you said, I think, as disappointing as it was not to be picked, being a UDFA really gave me the advantage of picking the situation where I felt was best for me and which team I felt really had a good plan for my development and had really thought out how I could, ultimately have success in the NFL, like you said, and start games in the future. So, yeah, I mean, teams started calling kind of in the 6th, 7th round saying if I didn't get picked, that they'd be interested in signing me. And ultimately, when the financial stuff was right, Chicago was the obvious choice.
Theo, you've talked a lot about Blake Nill in this process, and one of the things you said to me off air was that, or Gio, I should say, was that Dan Campbell reminded you a lot of Blake Nill and just that intensity. And when you look at them, I can kind of see it. Take me through the similarities there and why the connection was so strong.
Yeah, he literally is. They're both they almost kind of look alike too, but
yeah, they do.
Personality wise, as far as the way they approach the game, I swear it's just spitting. They're literally the same person. And I think one thing Dan Campbell really fell in love with me is that I was in his office talking to him, and he asked me, what type of culture is UBC football like? What type of culture do you guys practice out there? And I told him we're old school. Me and Theo come from an old school program. Our coaches, that's the way we practice and that's the way we are. And I think he fell in love with that right away because he told me that's the way he's trying to change Detroit. He's trying to put that old school mentality of football into the program, and he loved that, and I think me and him just connected right away, and he loved that I was talking old school. So yeah.
And Theo, for you came back and it gave you a chance to be coached by Dan Durazio, and certainly people who are familiar with the CFL know this guy is a legendary coach in this league and can coach it at the highest level. How much was gained by that, and what did you learn from him?
I mean, so much was gained. I mean, just to be able to even have a year of a fraction of his knowledge about the offensive line bestowed upon me this year was really, an honor. And as an offensive lineman, huge for me. And I think it's like really, really important for me as I transition to the professional level to have that behind me, to have everything he's taught me, not just about the position technically, but about, scheme and schematics in football. And, I don't know what it would be like not having him to prepare me for this.
I want to ask both of you guys just about what you see as the biggest challenges transitioning, because, like it or not, the big question for both of you, for any player coming out of U Sports, is level of competition. You're not playing against the big nose tackle from Alabama. So as you transition to the NFL, what do you think the biggest thing? We'll start with you, Gio. What do you think you have to learn the most and adapt the most?
Yeah, definitely the competition is going to be a step up, but I feel like every prospect coming into the NFL is going to have to experience a step of competition because they're also facing grown men who have families. And there's most guys in college aren't grown men and have families. Now they're facing guys like that, so it doesn't matter where you come from. I feel like the level of competition, no matter where you're from, is going to be a step up. But honestly, I feel like the biggest challenge for myself would be learning the new playbook and the terminology of the new offensive line that I'll be coming into. You know, if I could hammer those down as fast as I could, you know, I feel like those would be the one thing that they'll take me a while to get used to, that just that and the playbook. But in terms of being on the field, you know, being physical, all that, you know, that I feel like that will just come naturally. So, yeah.
And Theo, for you, I mean, we know that they're going to try to transition Gio to guard. People think that you're going to be a natural tackle. You've got that kind of footwork. Do you see yourself there and moving inside? And regardless of which position, what's the challenge for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of what actually was attractive to teams like the Bears was my versatility. I think I'm ready to play tackle at that level, and I'm ready to play inside at guard on either side. So, you know, in speaking with their staff, I'm going to come ready to play wherever I can find an opportunity along the line of scrimmage. And like you said, the adjustment will first be just, you know, learning all 5 positions, because I don't have a ton of game experience doing that. And then I think there's some schematic differences just between Canadian and American football in terms of having 12 or 11 men on the field, and, you know, how personnel groupings operate. So it'll be just stuff like that.
Is the yard off the ball a bigger deal? Like, I know you guys have been training for it and preparing for it. How much of an adjustment is that? Because that is an advantage for offensive linemen, having that extra yard in Canadian football.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an adjustment, but it's a quick adjustment. Like, having played in some of these all-star games and stuff, and playing in American rules, you just have to be ready to be a little bit quicker with your feet in a run game, putting them up and down. You're not really shouldn't be gaining as much ground with those steps. And then getting off the ball and getting your spot is ever the more important in the American game. Yeah.
Gio, how much did you benefit from Theo, because his name was out there? People knew who he was, 12 months ago. He played in the All-Star games. There was a chance he would come out. You had a bit more of an ascension this year. How much of the attention he got coming into the season do you think helped you in this opportunity?
Oh yeah, Theo helped a lot. I wouldn't be here today without him. He's a 2-time Memphis winner, and scouts definitely all came down because of that, and it benefited me, not only me, but everyone else on the team. They got a chance to look at myself, and Coach Shamari tweeted, I think a couple of weeks ago, that the Chargers came up and saw our players going into the next season. So yeah, that's credit to Theo, bringing up all those guys, and they brought them up and they ultimately saw me as well. So yeah, it's been great, and extremely thankful for it. So yeah.
I paid him to say that. I paid him to say that.
Hopefully it wasn't much. Gio, what about your parents? They're in Tonga. You moved here when you were 11 years old to live with your aunts, and they haven't been here to be with you through this journey. I know they're going to come watch you more, but they did fly here for draft day. What's this whole thing been like for them? And do they truly get it, like what American football is and all of that?
Yeah, they understand how big it is in America, and they understand, the NFL draft is a huge moment for a lot of young individuals, pursuing this sport and pursuing their dream. And, they understand that, but in terms of, like how trades and how draft picks work, they don't really get that. But all I told them was, I showed them a bunch of YouTube videos in the previous days of guys getting calls, and, they finally understood how serious of a moment it was. So yeah, and that finally happened today, and they're extremely proud, and my mom's ecstatic, and my dad is really happy, and I'm just happy to make both of them proud, because yeah, it is a long journey to come up here. So yeah.
Real quick, guys, before we go, Theo, I want to give you a chance to shout out your old high school coach, Richard White, because you might not be the only Handsworth guy. You played with Keelan White, who's a star receiver at the University of Montana. And his dad, Richard, coached you. He was there at your draft party today. So what was it like to share that with all of them?
I mean, it was just so special. I mean, Coach White, I told him he was really the first person that told me I could have an opportunity to play professional football if I, took the sport seriously. So I owe so much to him for getting me started in this process. And I told him today, I said, it'll be Keelan next year. So that'll be pretty cool to see too.
Hey guys, listen, I want to congratulate the two of you. It's been a pleasure watching you guys get to this point. You've made BC high school football proud, UBC, U Sports, Canada. We look forward to watching you play south of the border for a long, long time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.